You're all so glorious. Chapter 2, um, Part 2. Still, all of the content warnings go to Part 1. She is still mute when Maria Silk Knitter had swept into the room, in all her grandeur in skirts and pale, slender hands. She had not a line on her face, suggesting a timelessness that paled in comparison to the average model. She'd taken Lace by the chin and turned her this way and that, taking in the eye bags and the misery and the several dripping medicines attached to Lace's arm. Her grip is punishing. When she releases Lace, Lace is only just scared enough to not reach up and rub away the tension of a forming bruise. Lace's mother is a tall woman, so thin it looks like she'd been pulled away like taffy into the shape. Her hair is white and wispy, a distinctive color and length that glimmered gold in even the harshest electric light. It falls in harsh shock over the shoulders of the woman's stiff suit, starched and pressed, as if it had come straight off the iron. Later, Lace would discover that these are the signs of a weaver. The white hair, the pointed and thin dark eyes, the cold lips, and the terrifying presence. In a moment she'd thought it strange and different, but refrained from saying anything out of a childlike, mute fear. In this new country, Lace was out of place. She remained still in the bed, these unfamiliar people as strange as this new land. She is not unfamiliar with the town as a concept, but the architecture in France, the flat buildings and odd botany and fancy embellishments, is strange, and Lace holds no knowledge nor love of the winding asphalt roads. Over time she will learn to gain the knowledge, but Lace never quite picks up the love. Maria Silknitter stares down at her as one would a crawling bug scurrying over the sidewalk. She reaches Lace's arm forward and looks highly disappointed, staring at the white stitching as if it would disappear. "You're quite weak," she says presently, releasing Lace's hand. "Tiny, small, a delicate soul. I suppose we'll see about your resilience, although I doubt you'll last long." Her words are deliberate, each one accompanied by a purposeful pause. Nothing this woman said was by accident. Every syllable was a careful, calculated choice of patronization. "However," Maria Silknitter continues, voice as brusque as a midnight winter wind, "the dullness in your eyes is quite unique. Perhaps life has taken you down enough that you might be a good daughter." "I can be good," Lace had said, voice young and pleading, clutching at the sheet. "Mummy said "You'll call me mother," the white-haired lady corrected, voice like iron. "You'll forget your past. For all that it entails, you'll be my daughter now. You'll do as I say." Perhaps Lace had cried. She'd remembered her birth parents then, after all. Perhaps she didn't want to call this strange woman mother, when her mind still held keen memories of another woman who was kinder. Lace doesn't think she'd bawled or thrown a tantrum, though. Even then, she'd known that her best chances and prospects lay with this white, thin woman, with downturned lips and dark eyes. Her arm had hurt from where the woman had gripped it. Lace quickly got the sense that this woman was quite harsh. So she'd gone home with the woman. What else was supposed to happen? As a child, she had few rights, fewer still afforded to a black girl who, for all intents and purposes, had just had a stroke of incredible luck in being adopted by such an affluent woman. All the doctors at the hospital had congratulated and complimented Lace's mother on her altruism and goodwill, had remarked on her bleeding heart, had mentioned how lucky Lace was to have been adopted by such a philanthropist. And really, Lace knew little about what had just happened. The series of events she had just lived through were as normal as anything else in her life, and she lacked the life experience to know that they were strange and wrong. In fact, everyone seemed so convinced as to Lace's fortune that for a while Lace had thought she'd been lucky too. Maria Silknitter's house is extravagant in the way that Lace had only seen before in the long-running soap operas her caretakers had used to watch on a tiny, staticky TV. Her house runs for hallways that go on for kilometers and kilometers, layers of marble and lime stacked upon decorative columns and carved support beams. Despite the exterior of her home being quite traditional, with a very cubical formation with many broad windows, a mud-red roof, stone stairs that flare as they sprawl out onto the manicured lawn, tasteful greenery, and conical topiaries. The interior of her home is starkly white and very modern. Her couches blend in meticulously with her walls. Porcelain statues of famous Grecian artists posed nude along a cream trim, their bare feet trembling upon boxy bases that possess harsh edges as sharp as any blade. Hardwood tables, slathered with a magnolia finish, house ashen orchids. There is little hung on the walls, but there is a large circular mirror that reflects all who enter in the manor. When a servant opens the door for Lace and she steps through for the first time, the mirror reflects all that is white within the room, and Lace besides. All this color, or lack of, shocks Lace when she sees it. She must take a glance outside. She must take a glance back outside, to ensure that the colors of the rainbow have not vanished, as if she had stepped through some soul-sucking portal that removed the chroma and saturation from the very world around her. Beyond Lace, her new mother has continued through the house, heels clicking evenly across the marble floor. She shrugs off her wool coat, handing it to the silent servant, who disappears with it in hand. Even her mother's hair, which had been so starkly white against the hospital's pale walls, almost pales in comparison to the blindingness of the whiteout around her. "Come," Lace's mother says, beckoning Lace forward. "Quicker! I wanted a dull child, not a disobedient one." Lace hastily quickens her pace. She'd come to the elementary conclusion in the car ride from the hospital that she ought to be as convenient as possible, make herself as small so that she might fit any mold that Maria Silknitter would toss her way. It would be like skipping rope. Lace would never miss a pass. She tears her eyes away from the overwhelming whites surrounding her on all sides. She walks forward as quick as possible. After being discharged from the hospital, a servant had given her a pair of shiny black dress shoes with little lacy socks. The shoes, however, are too small and bite into her heels with every step. Lace does not dare to say a word. The house is ages of walking, but it's a very boring walk. There isn't much to look at. The size of the house indicates wealth, but the interior gestures towards austerity. There is none of the gold and silver Lace had expected in the home of the wealthy, and she thinks her new mother is that, very wealthy. The woman taps away on an electronic tablet. Her clothes are neat and ironed. She owns cars and money for airplanes and has a big house with a huge yard. It's only unfortunate that their house is so vacant. Layers of endless white bury the occupants. "You will be expected at lessons every day," Mother suddenly says very sharply. She pushes open a random double door with a gloved hand. Behind it is a spacious library, large towering windows that spill sunlight generously into the room. Despite the white shelves and tables and chairs and rugs, this room has the most color Lace had seen so far, with the spines of the books, an example of disorienting, lively madness. With the windows peering out onto the green lawn, however, the color isn't necessarily as out of place as it could have been, but still distinct, nevertheless. Here, arithmetic, history, geography, music, art, science, and writing. You speak French? I was told you were fluent." "Yes," Lace says, face brightening. "I can speak French well, the best of all." Her mother only furrows her face at the words. No pride sparks her face. "That accent," she says under her breath. "We'll do away with it. Simply remain silent until it's gone." Lace shifts uncomfortably. Her mouth closes with a click. They pass through more doors, each one a study of mimicry. "You'll be starting ballet." "Yep." "You'll be starting ballet," Mother says. "A teacher will be coming next week. You have 2 years to better yourself, so that you may join a professional school in time. Have you done any sort of dance before? You may speak. No, Lace whispers, trying to mold her accent. She makes it more nasal, sharper. Her mother's face says she expected the response, but it still disappointed her. You'll have to learn how to apply yourself, Mother dismisses. Your weak soul might make that difficult. She sighs, before tapping her finger against the rim of the table. Then she turns to Lace, face pulled severely. I expect perfection, she tailed. Wait, do I cut that out now? Wait, if she expects perfection, I can't just make that take specifically not perfect. Whatever. I expect perfection, she tells Lace, very seriously. There is no room for absurdity. I have bought and paid for you. I expect results. I don't have the time, patience, or desire to spend money and resources on someone who is not going to utilize them to the fullest extent. Many children would kill for this position. It is entirely up to you if you'd like to let them. If your tutors deem that you've fallen behind in anything, I will send you back to where you came from. Do you understand? She doesn't crouch to talk to Lace, like some other adults do, nor does she sweeten her voice. Lace's new mother speaks like a military general who has pushed vulgar men through the bowels of war. She looks at her new daughter with narrowed eyes, angry analysis written all over her form. She compares Lace to an invisible tape measure, mentally draping it around her head and waist, marking projected progress against a non-existent wall and already finding it lacking. She looks at Lace and does not like what she sees.